Hey guys, this is Soren Productions, aka 4673, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is Wilder Bahadur's story. Bahadur. I cannot pronounce that for the life of me, I'm so sorry. But it's here. If some of you may remember when we played Wilder Rand's story a while back, which was I think a surprise to everyone, but it was really, really good. Like, it was just something I randomly found on Steam. Not on Steam, on Itch. And, I really didn't know anything about it, and it turned out to be so good. And then later I found out who actually made it, and it made sense why it was so good then. But, this just came out, like, I think yesterday, when I'm recording this on the 23rd. And I want to play, this game, because I'm super excited for it. And I'm not sure if it starts the same way. Like if it starts with the entire intro the same, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna read through it, and hopefully this part will be a little longer so we get to the meaty stuff, but I'm not sure yet. So we're just gonna start. Wilder contains instances of violence, strong language, scenes of sexual nature, and some discussion of physical and sexual abuse. Player discretion is advised. Oh yeah, I think this time we're gonna see what happens in the explicit part of it. If it's a little too bad, we're gonna turn it off, but for now, let's see what happens. As far as I remember, I don't think it's too bad. But anyway, 18 and up, I guess, everybody. Any scenes of sexual nature will be explicit. Oh god. That makes me a little nervous when it's put like that, but we'll be fine. Oh jeez. See ya? Yes! Alright, let's go. See ya, the Pearl of the Sands. A walled human city, standing tall and glorious at the center of a harsh and barren desert. Currently enjoying a golden age of prosperity, Sia thrives on trade of spices and cloth, beautiful gems, and slaves. A jinn is a beast of fathomless violence, with the claws of a predator and the eyes of a demon. In the hills west of the desert, they live like animals, fighting over scraps of food. The lucky ones are plucked from this sad existence and given purpose. They are brought to Sia and trained to attend to their human masters as dutiful servants. Through this new way of life, they are given true happiness. At least, that's what I've always been told. Guess who's coming back? It's Jiraiya. Jiraiya is back in town. I'm very curious about Bahadur's story, because I did not think he would be a romanceable option, so I'm surprised. But I'm looking very much forward to it. Let's see what our lovely guy friend is gonna bring us. Oh shit. press the wrong button. There we go, Jiraiya. My name is Jiraiya. Sia is the only home I have ever known. Though I was orphaned at a young age, my aunt and uncle took me in and made sure that I never wanted for anything. Lady, they raised me in the lap of luxury. I had the finest clothes, the richest foods, and never once had to use my hands for anything more strenuous, straining than brushing my hair. Lady, for 17 years they kept me and never asked for such a thing in return. I am fucking up, sorry. Then came the 18th year. My lady, it's time to wake up. I need a good voice for him. I'll just give him the one he had before, I think. Good morning, my lady. Good morning, Bahadur. He smiles, and it's so warm as the morning sun spilling through the window. Mistress Lamia asked me to fetch you. I believe she has something in store, a shopping trip, if I'm not mistaken. My stomach drops. But we already have the gown. I look over to the wardrobe. It's closed and the gown out of sight, but I feel the presence of the damned thing regardless. I can fetch a maid and help you dress if you wish, my lady. I'll do it myself. That won't be necessary. As you will. I suppose time has come to stop treating you as a child, hasn't it? Bahadur places a silver tray of breakfast on the table, then bows and takes his leave. With a sigh, I pull myself from bed. My final day of freedom begins here. Aunt Lamia is waiting downstairs, tapping her foot impatiently. Ah, Jiraiya, how kind of you to drag yourself out of bed before noon. I'm sorry, Aunt Lamia, I overslept. You are a young lady now, Jiraiya. It won't do to be thought of as slothful. I lower my head. Yes, ma'am. Well, let's not waste any more time. Come along. Excuse me. Aunt Lamia sweeps toward the door. Bahadur goes to follow. Your presence will not be required, Bahadur. Stay here. Bahadur hesitates, torn. The master said that I am to stay by your side and protect... Well, master isn't here, is he? So, wouldn't you say that your mistress' command is the one you should be obeying right now? Yes, my apologies. Aunt Lamia takes a step towards Bahadur, reaching out her hand to softly brush the length of his jawline. And who is your mistress? Bahadur goes rigid, eyes fixed on some spot on the wall just past her head. You are, mistress. Aunt Lamia holds his jaw in her hand for a few moments longer before letting go with a pat. Good boy. Bahadur's shoulders instantly drop, only by the tiniest of fractions, but I can tell. The whole display makes me angry. Anyway, I think I'm literally commenting the same things that I did the last time, but this is the same thing, if some of you couldn't tell. But I want people to, like, if you don't want to watch Rand's story and just want to watch Bahadur's story, or the other way around, like, you can watch, like, the intro with it, so. T-sip. It's outrageous the way she can belittle him with one simple gesture. Come, Jiraiya, let's go. Yes, ma'am. In silence we walk in the winding streets of Sia until we reach the bustling market road. Wealthy shoppers wander from stall to stall, their jinn servants following a few steps behind, most already heavily laden with purchases. I cannot understand why Aunt Lamia decided to leave Bahadur behind. Fresh fruit, the most gorgeous pomegranates. I call it pomegranates. I know that's not the way to pronounce it, but it's funnier. Pomegranates you ever... Only the finest silk, all the way from Umar. Tempt you to smell this, ma'am. Is it not the most wonderful? Aunt Lamia ignores the trader's calls and strides ahead with unwavering purpose. We pass the food vendors, the cloth merchants. Oh, Lamia, darling! A group of women I vaguely recognize as my aunt's friends stand clustered around a jewelry stand. They wave at her frantically. Lamia joins and they begin talking amongst themselves. Immediately, voices low and heads close the way I've often seen female friends speak. I hover on the outskirts of their group, awkward and unsure. Ah, and young Jiraiya, almost didn't recognize you. You look so mature and beautiful. Thank you, ma'am. Aunt Lamia nods and looks at me with an expression I've rarely seen before. It takes me a while to place it. Pride? Oh, you must be so excited, dear. Yes, tomorrow is the big day. All eyes are on me, waiting for my gracious response. Oh, T, shut up. My tea always makes noises, I swear to God. Excited isn't really the word I would use. Yeah, ecstatic might be more appropriate. You know young girls and their silly romantic notions. Aunt Lamia smooths over my social faux pas, and shoots me a warning glare. Oh yes, a great honor, undoubtedly. A true honor. Such an honor, of course, although... The women's sycophantic smiles drop a little as they exchange knowing glances. The rumors! Yes, the rumors! Such disturbing rumors. My body goes cold. Even I have heard the rumors. I realize that my hand is starting to clench at my robes and immediately make it stop. Aunt Lamia makes some well-practiced excuses and we leave the gaggle of gossips behind us. Do not pay any heed to those foolish old goats. Know that any of them would cut off their right hand to be in your position. Yes, ma'am. Good girl. Now come along and you shan't get your present. With that we move on, further and further down the market road until we reach a frantic crowd stands in a circle, throwing up their arms and calling out increasing sums of money. Aunt Lamia deftly pushes her way to the front of the crowd, and I follow. An auctioneer stands before everyone, taking every bid thrown his way. And beside him, the auction item itself, standing obediently, eyes fixed down. The jinn. I have 6. Who will give me 7? 7 silver pieces. 7 silver pieces. Who will give me 8? As the price is driven higher, the jinn on display shows no emotion or opinion on the proceedings. She simply stares at her hands, unmoving. Come now. Come now. She'll make a fine maid, nanny, attendant, or bed warmer, eh, gentlemen? The auctioneer winks, and some male chuckles rise from the crowd. The bidding continues until finally, going 1, going twice, sold to the lovely family at the front. A husband and wife step forward to pay, then lead the way the jinn by the chain attached to her collar. Their young daughter skips delightedly alongside, slipping her tiny hand into the jinn's as they walk. The jinn lets her. Aunt Lamia's keen eye scans the slave standing in the background, still to be auctioned. Is this to be my present? My own slave? I don't want to be here. I don't want any of this. What a wonderful crowd of customers I've got here today. And I've got to say, ladies and gentlemen, they may be descending into madness in Umar, doing away with the slave trade, dressing up their jinn like people. But at least Sia remains a bastion of civilization. A self-congratulatory cheer rises from the crowd, and the auctioneer bows to us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for a very special item. He gestures, and 2 assistants bring out the next jinn. This one struggles all the way and is finally forced onto his knees at the center stage. I gasp, and it is echoed by the spectators. It's Ran! Hello, we're not gonna be romancing you this time, but I do remember. It was not the best first impression, I guess. He's a shocking white. All of it as if all color has been bled from him. Scars run over every inch of his body. A stump remains on his forehead where a horn would have been. He may have been on his knees, but his head is not bowed, and his red eyes stare out, challenging into the crowd. He is beautiful, and pitiful, and frightening. This particularly rare specimen was not bred in this city, but sourced from outside. Do you like him, Jiraiya? Aunt Lamia must have noticed that I was staring. As you might be able to tell, he has not been an easy one to tame. However, let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, when was the last time you saw a genuine albino jinn? Murmurs arise. I have never seen an albino jinn before, though of course I've heard the stories. Godlike strength, saliva that can heal all wounds, blood that can reverse a person's aging. Albinos are supposedly the only jinn that still has a connection to the old magic. Suddenly the crowd is clamoring, but birds are called and raised before the auctioneer can even take them. 11 silver pieces! 23! 32! 50 silver pieces! Aunt Lamia's voice cuts through the noise like a dagger made from ice. A couple of persistent bidders continue to challenge her, but she beats every bid by over 10 pieces each time. Finally, there are no challengers left. So, madam, enjoy your purchase. Aunt Lamia strides out to the front of the crowd and takes the end of the jinn's chain from an assistant. Here, my girl. She holds out the chain to me. He is yours now. What? Take him. The chain is pushed into my hand and my fingers close weakly around it. The white-haired jinn rises to his feet and his blood-red eyes slide slowly and deliberately up to my face. Do you have a name? His head tilts ever so slightly, but he doesn't say a word. Aunt Lamia tuts and takes the chain back, yanked hard. The white jinn lurches forward, almost stumbling to his knees once again. Your mistress asked you a question, boy. Handing the chain once to me again, she gives me a stern look. You must be strong, Jiraiya. Never let him forget who you are and what he is. Turning back to him, the jinn, I swallow and try to steady my shaking hands. No ordering here. We're gonna be nice. Well, I guess it could be interesting to be not nice, but I want to be nice. Like, I could, if there are choices to be not nice in other ways, I would, but I don't believe in, like, people's worth being less than others. Like, normally I really dislike slave stories because of that, but, like, this is an interesting, well, I guess it's not an interesting take on it, but it's a really well done take on it. Please, I'd like to know what to call you. At all this time, his eyes have never moved from mine. Finally, his throat working like it's dry and sore from disuse, he answers. Ran. We do not return home until evening has settled. Aunt Lamia dragged me, and by extension Ran, all through the market after that. She brought new clothes for him to wear, as well as some solid gold slave bands to put on his wrists. Slave bands are metal bracelets that have been enchanted to calm the wild blood that runs through every gene, curbing their incredible strength and making them calmer, obedient. All slaves must wear them by law. When we walk through the door, Bahadur is there. Welcome home. His eyes land on the newest member of the household and he freezes. Mistress. Ah, Bahadur, perfect. Aunt Lamia looks at me pointedly. She has never expected me to give commands before. What I feel like today has been nothing but a series of strange tests. I consider the situation. Bahadur, can you please get Ran some food? Why do people always call me at the worst times? Apologies, sorry. Of course, my lady. You, this way. In contrast to the warm tone he always has for me, Bahadur speaks to Ran with nothing but cold, stern professionalism. Then he turns, starting to walk away. Ran follows, unhurried. Going through the doorway to the dining room, they pass by a figure I'm only just noticing for the first time. Uncle, you're home! Uncle Makram watches Ran pass by with furrowed brow. Lamia, darling. Yes? Explain. Oh, dearest, how many times must we argue about this? She isn't a child anymore. She needs her own attendant. And the reason why you chose an attendant who happens to be male, unsightly, and clearly not properly bred? Not to mention, I imagine, hideously overpriced. Dearest, it's been a long day. Must we do this now? Uncle's shoulders drop as the argument drains out of him. His warm eyes turn on me. Hello, sweetheart. I missed you. I will not hug you, 'cause I know you are a dick. I shouldn't do that, but I give him a demure nod. Don't pout, darling. I missed you as well. Don't be absurd. My uncle has always been the exact opposite of my aunt. His warmth melts her coldness, his smile soothes away her sneers, and I have never once doubted that he loves me with all of his heart. I'm sorry that I've been away so much lately. It has been busy up at the palace. No surprise there, everyone is preparing for the wedding of the century after all. Oh no, must we ruin the evening with talk of this? It will be a day to remember. Have no fear, Jiraiya, tomorrow will go off without a hitch. Uncle looks so happy, and Aunt Lamia too, I think. Am I the only one who feels this dread knotting up my insides? Yeah, I ain't staying quiet. Look. Do I really have to marry him? Jiraiya. What are you saying? No, I just mean... I will do my duty. I promise. Uncle smiles, but it looks somehow pained and helpless. That is all any of us can do. Heavens above, you think the girl was being asked to do something terrible. There are often children in this city crawling through the gutters catching rats for dinner. We saved you from that fate, arranged the finest match for you, secured your future, and all we have asked in return is that you trust us to do what is best for you. Lamia, if I were feeling rebellious or spiteful, I can point out how they benefit from this match without having to give their lives away before they even had a chance to live them. But I don't feel rebellious or spiteful anymore. I just feel tired. I am going to bed. So early, don't you want to eat dinner together? For the last time goes unspoken. I am sorry, Uncle. Let her go, dearest. She'll need a good night's sleep after all. Yes, of course. He gives me another helpless smile. Good night, Jiraiya. Good night. I undress myself, turning away the maid that comes to help me. This will be my last night in this room. I lie in bed and try to commit everything to memory, to hold dear when I am... well, for times to come when I need nice memories to cling to. Despite my turmoil, sleep comes quickly. I dream. I sit in a cage. It looks remarkably like my bedroom, but for the golden bars that arch over me. A beautiful golden birdcage. My lady. Just past the bars, Bahadur speaks from his own cage. He and Ran stand together, strapped in a black cell with spiked bars and bloodied chains. In comparison, my own cage is undeniably gilded. But it is still a cage. But its splendor is a lie. I'm still trapped. My lady, let me help you. You can't help me, Bahadur. I wish that he could. I wish someone would save me. I wish... Suddenly, I am awake. But why? Then I notice... Ran? The moonlight coming in through the window makes his white skin shine like silver. What are you doing in my room? He takes a step forward, and I draw the bed covers up about me. Stop! He does. When he extends his right hand, palm up, I see a folded piece of parchment. I shuffle towards him as much as my modesty allows and take the paper. It is a note from Aunt Lamia. I had him bathed and sent to your room. Tonight you are a woman. Is she really suggesting... Aunt Lamia has never understood that not all women share her desire for sex with participants who are legally bound to indulge her. I thank the gods that at least Ran couldn't have been able to read what the note said. Ugh. Ran, How do you want me, mistress? What? Ran steps closer. Do you want me on the bed? He climbs onto the bed, still coming closer. The covers rustle, obscene in the silence of the room. Or is that too presumptuous of me? I don't... Now, barely a breath away, his eyes lock with mine. A spark of something goes skittering up my spine. Tonight I shall make you a woman. More sparks join the first, and I find myself feeling... Nope. Stop! Ran halts, his face expressionless. Wait. Tonight you are a woman. Almost the exact words. Did he read the note? That's impossible. Jean cannot read. Suddenly, it doesn't matter anymore, as Ran grabs me by the shoulder and pulls me backwards into his arms. His arms around my neck, he holds me in place as I feel the cold bite of a sharp point pressing against my cheek. At first I imagine his claws sharp on my skin, then I remember those claws have been filed down, made harmless by the men who sold him. So a knife? Where did he get a knife? What is he going to do to me? I hate this choice because both of them is like... Ugh. I don't want to say that! Please, please don't hurt me. It would be such fun, mistress. What are you going to do? He doesn't answer, almost as if he's asking himself the same question. The window. I'm going to climb out of the window. Question is, mistress, what am I to do with you? Can I trust you to keep quiet? Will you let me go? The knife blade digs into my cheek. Yes! Yes, you won't say anything? I won't say anything! I don't have to kill you. No! You'll let me go. Yes, just go! A puff of air hits the shell of my ear, his lips coming closer to whisper. Liar. The blade glints as Ran raises it high. Oh god. I shut my eyes tight and wait for the downswing. My lady! The finger comes. I hear the door slam open, and open my eyes just in time to see Bahadur launch himself at us. Unhand her! I am thrown to the floor as the two Jeans grapple. By the time I pick myself up, Bahadur has already subdued Ran. His strength is truly incredible. What is this noise? Uncle Makram comes flying into the room. Jiraiya, are you alright? Time stands still as he takes in the scene before him. Master, this animal was... Bahadur. Bahadur falls silent immediately, deferring to me despite his anger. If Uncle finds out that Ran threatened me and tried to escape, he'll have him arrested or simply execute him himself. Either way, Ran will be killed. My heart shudders. I don't want that. 'Cause he don't deserve it. He was taken from his home and made a slave in a foreign city. I can't blame him for wanting to escape. I'm sorry, Uncle. Aunt Lemia told Ran to come to my room. I wasn't expecting him, and I'm afraid I made quite the fuss. Bahadur grits his teeth but doesn't contradict me. Ran stares at me with the same blank expression as always. He seems neither surprised nor grateful. Uncle scans the room, doubtful. Thankfully, the knife was sent skidding beneath the bed during the struggle and lies hidden. I see. Your aunt sent him. Uncle sighs, embarrassed. That woman. Ran, you will sleep in the servants' quarters tonight. Bahadur, show him the way. Yes, master. With one last tortured look in my direction, Bahadur leads Ran out of the room. I am so sorry, sweetheart. Believe it or not, she means well. You know that affection does not come easy to her. Sometimes she overcompensates. I'm not sure that Aunt Lamia has felt anything akin to affection. Certainly not towards me. Yes, Uncle. With a gentle smile, he kisses my forehead. Good night, Uriah. I love you. I love you too. This, at least, is not a lie. Uncle Makram leaves, and I am alone. I'm gonna shift a bit. Sorry for the noise. But my back is killing me. Ugh. I climb back into bed and lie stiff beneath the covers. He tried to kill me. He wanted to kill me. I lie like that for what feels like hours. Sleep won't find me. And the dreaded morning is closer than ever. And finally, it is here. I eat breakfast that has no taste. Then two maids work in tandem to prepare me. They bathe me, cover me in perfume, put makeup on my face. Finally, they dress me. The white gown is beautiful and feels like silk against my skin. But what it represents, I feel sick. Tea-sip. Downstairs, the entire household waits for me. By now, it's already afternoon. We set out in a procession line. My uncle leads, followed by my aunt and I, side by side. Bahadur and Ran brings up the rear, walking the traditional 3 steps behind their masters. He's not gonna look at me. I can't bring myself to even look at Ran. My heart still pounds painfully into my chest when I think about last night. I clench my trembling hands to steady them and walk on. Before long, the palace looms. All the way along the steps stand our guests, the highest nobility in Sia. Our procession walks through the middle of the crowd, upwards step by step, until we reach the top. And there he stands. White-haired, long-bearded, decorated with the finest royal red robes and glittering jewels. The Shah. The man who rules all of Sia. My husband. My beautiful bride. I glance back over my shoulder. Uncle Makram urges me gently with a gesture of his arms. Aunt Lamia gestures less gently. Your Majesty. The Shah smiles. His teeth are dull and wine-stained against the white of his beard. The man dressed in a flowing yellow robe steps forward, and the crowd hushes in respect for the heart Sia of our city. Honorable citizens of Sia, welcome. Under your gaze and the gaze of the gods, these 2 souls shall be joined this day. With that, the ceremony begins. I can barely hear a word of it over the pounding pulse in my ears. Once again, I can't help but look behind me. My aunt looks on with a smile, though her eyes flash with warning when she catches my eyes. Ran stands still and deceptively obedient, his white skin and red eyes drawing their own looks and whispers from some in the crowd. Bahadur's jaw is clenched, Our gazes lock, and for a moment, it almost looks as if it almost looks as if he's going to step forward and speak, but the moment passes, and he does not. My uncle wipes a tear from his eyes. When he smiles, it's a happy, proud smile. And may the gods bless us all. My head snapped back to the Heartseer as his words finally filter through. Shah Malik, His Imperial Majesty, ruler of all of Sia, will you take this woman's hand, lead her through life, at your side, love her, keep her for the rest of her life? I will. Lady Jiraiya, ward of Royal Advisor Sheikh Makram, will you take this man's hand, walk through life at his side, love him, obey him for the rest of your life? I will. The words don't hurt as I speak them, but once they're out, I ache as if they've gutted me. Then it is done. That from this day until your dying day, you are man and wife. A deafening cheer rises from the crowd. The Shah, my husband, crooks his arm, and I take it, holding on tightly just to keep myself upright. That's a good girl. Come now. He suddenly raises his voice so everyone can hear. To the banquet! Another cheer rises, and I am swept into the palace on a wave of celebration. The throne room has been transformed for the wedding feast. Tables line the hall from end to end, and the guests, our guests, mill around, unable to sit until the Shah and his bride have taken their seats at the head table. As more of the crowd follow us in, the Shah suddenly stops and turns back to the doors. Halt! My aunt and uncle pauses at the threshold. Bahadur and Ran stumbling to a stop behind them. The jinn. Your Majesty, if you remember, we did discuss... Yes, Makram, I'm not senile yet, thank you. He takes a step and my uncle moves out of the way, presenting Bahadur and Ran to the Shah's suspicious eye. The Shah draws himself up, tall as he looked them over. Though, it is only my imagination, or his wrinkling hands trembled. Trembling? Jesus Christ. In my 60 years as the ruler of Sia, no lower species have been allowed to set foot inside this palace. Ran flinches, red eyes flashing. Bahadur looks to my uncle, and at his nod, bows into a low bow. You honor us at this day, Your Majesty. That is right, I do. The Shah turns his attention to Ran alone. Ran, who had previously looked bored with the whole affair and far more interested in watching the food being brought to the tables, has been provoked by the word lower species. He meets the Shah's eyes with cold defiance. This act should be grounds for a public whipping or worse. If he opens his mouth, then oh gods. Ran, you're so silly. Forgive him, Your Majesty. He is simply overwhelmed, basking in your magnificence for the first time. The Shah at least seems appeased. Our family is grateful for your understanding, Your Majesty. You must think us terribly overprotective, but our precious Jiraiya has never stepped outside our villa without a jinn escort for protection. Until yesterday, that was actually true. I've lived a very sheltered life, I know. Well, I do not mind making an exception this once for my beloved on our wedding day. Though you understand that she will not be able to keep her pale companion in the palace. I have royal guards to keep us safe within these walls. Like Hamza, the giant of the man who's been standing silently at the Shah's back this entire time, gives a grunt and a nod. Yes, Your Majesty. I'm making all of the voice sound really similar, I'm sorry. Hamza must have been the Shah's captain of the guard. He certainly got the intimidating look for it. There, you see, the jinn will not be necessary. Even Aunt Lanya can't quite hide her displeasure at this news. No doubt the many silver pieces she paid for Ran are spinning through her mind right now. I feel Bahadur's eyes on me. No, I don't want to say goodbye to Bahadur. And I barely got to meet Ran. Will I never see them again? Of course, Your Majesty, as you command. Uncle Makram is grateful and polite as always, though I can tell even he finds the Shah's aversion to jinn to be utterly strange. Outright paranoia, I heard him call it once in a private moment at the villa. I'm not sure why the Shah is so mistrustful of the jinn when this city is practically built on their backs. The one time I tried asking my uncle, he only shook his head and said, "It is not the slave he fears, but the master who might command them." "Shall we, my pretty one?" The Shah's word whispered low into my ear, bringing me back to the presence. He guides me to a table, and finally everyone may be seated. He sits on the throne, and I take the space beside him. To his other side sits the Heartseer, and to mine sits my uncle. I am fucking up so much, I am sorry. Reading, apparently, is not my strong suit. I look for Aunt Lamia, Bahadur, and Ran, but they've been lost to the throng of guests already. The feast begins. Eat the food, darling. I take a bite from some bread, but the crumbs taste like ashes in my mouth. I manage to swallow, then place the bread back on my plate and my hands on my lap. My dear husband, however, does not hold himself back. He eats, he drinks, he laughs and makes speeches. Deep into his third cup of wine, he suddenly goes quiet and leans into me. "My precious flower, did you ever see my fourth wife?" "No, your majesty, I never had the chance. I hear her beauty was unmatched, though." "Yes, very pretty little thing." He presses closer, breath hot on my face. "Bit of a cold fish, though, in many departments." The words wriggle in my ears like worms. But more repulsive than that are the fingers that find my knee and give a little squeeze. "Your majesty." "Shh, no, my darling, I am your husband." The fingers remain bold and shameless, hidden beneath the table. "Makram ain't gonna help." I grit my teeth and dig my nails into the palm of my hand. Some important politician of some kind approaches our table to pay his respects to the Shah, and to me, I suppose. He must be a friend of Uncle Makram's, as they clasp hands and then both disappear from the table to speak in private. Before he takes his leave, my uncle bows once more to the Shah and once to the Heartseer. The Heartseer even bows his head in return. It strikes me not for the first time just how respected my uncle is as the Shah's advisor. My thoughts linger on the Heartseer, who is somehow managing to look wise and mystical even as he tucks into a lake of lamb. I was fascinated with the Heartseers as a child. I read all sorts of books about them, and even wished to be one. Rare humans, chosen by the gods with the divine gift of seeing into the truest parts of people's hearts and souls. I've heard that Sia's Heartseer never leaves the Shah's side, lest any traitors or assassins needed to be weeded out. How cruel my wife is to ignore her husband so, on their wedding day no less. His fingers pinch at my thigh, leaning in close, he breathes into my ears. "But you do smell so intoxicating, my flower." Blah. "End it!" Forget propriety, forget obedience. "If you are feeling intoxicated, perhaps the wine is to blame, my husband." The Shah's face hardens in displeasure. I don't give him a chance to voice it. "Excuse me, but I must get some air." Not looking back, I leave the table. I feel Captain Hamson's eyes on me, stern and disapproving, but ignore him. "Yeah, fuck you, Hamza." "I spent an entire playthrough last time getting fucking chased by you." Spoilers, sorry. I don't even know where I'm going in this vast palace, but anywhere is better than staying there with him. "My lady." "Bahadur, where did you come from?" Bahadur merely smiles. What a truly perfect valet. I couldn't see him at all, but he must have been watching me this whole time. You take the whole protector thing very seriously, don't you? "Of course, my lady." "May I escort you somewhere?" "Anywhere." Bahadur frowns for a moment, then gestures to a nearby corridor. We slip away from the crowd, mostly unnoticed. The corridor is empty, save for a few servants running back and forth to bring food from the kitchens. Finally, I feel like I can breathe. Bahadur stands, shielding me, moving from the view of anyone out in the throne room who might look down this hallway. He doesn't speak, but his face is lined with worry. "My lady, He stops himself and looks down. "What is it?" "This may be the last time we ever speak." He says it quietly, almost to himself. "Don't leave me!" leave me here. My lady. He smiles shakily, though I know him well enough to see the pain behind it. I wish I could have remained your valet my entire life. But I cannot be so selfish. We both have our duties to... Oh yes, of course, duty, duty, duty. Tears begin to prick at my eyes. Tears of frustration, of fear, of utter helplessness. Do you remember the day we met? Of course I do. I was a little girl coming to my aunt's and uncle's estate for the first time. I was still too young to truly understand that this would be my home now, that my mother and father were never coming back. Bahadur stood just beyond the front door, the first jinn I had ever seen. You just threw yourself into my arms. You caught me though, didn't you? Never had so many questions thrown at me. How strong are you? Could you lift a house? Could you fight a lion? I may have been a little overcome. That was before I knew. Knew what, my lady? What an enormous softy you are. You wouldn't hurt a fly. Thank you, my lady, I think. We really have known each other for a long time, haven't we? Bahadur, if I asked... I'm not even sure what I'm about to ask, but my voice cracks around the words. It's a plea, but I don't know for what. Not that it matters. My lady, we shouldn't linger alone together for too long. Bahadur cuts off whatever I was about to say and glances anxiously back at the main room. He's not actually worried about anyone missing us. He just doesn't want to hear what I have to say. He doesn't want me to ask him to speak his mind. Coward. I have to go, or I really will cry this time. Understood. Goodbye, Bahadur. By some miracle, my uncle has returned and the Shah is no longer at the table. Though unfortunately Captain Hamza remains. Hello, douchebag. I go back to my seat, slipping back to the mask of the dutiful bride. Ah, Jiraiya, His Majesty had to slip away for a moment. But I'm sure your doting husband won't leave you alone for long. His eyes twinkle as if we're sharing some kind of cute little joke. You bitch. I see. I take my seat and sit politely as Uncle speaks to the man next to him, some visiting nobleman, too garishly dressed to be from Syria. I must say, you do hear incredible news coming out from the city of yours these days. Umar certainly keeps all of our tongues wagging around here. Ugh, don't ruin my rhyme bringing that up, I beg you. I've had a mind to stay in Syria after the wedding for good. So is it truly as we've heard? It's worse. Umar was once the greatest city in the world, no offense, Makram. And now that bastard Yasir, oh Yasir, I remember that guy, is in charge, pulling ridiculous new laws and decrees out of his backside. Oh, well, I'm afraid that we're doomed. I thought that the guild was ruling Umar now. Oh, the guild may have dragged the king out of his palace and beheaded him in the city square, but mark my words, Yasir is the one whispering in their ears. And now we have a new ruling committee, overturning all tradition, headed by a jumped-up merchant pretending to be a lord. Is it true that the jinn and Umar live as free men? The man's tirade pauses as he stares at me, seeming surprised that I've spoken. The guilds have chosen the arenas. They've destroyed the slave trade. My house lies in disrepair now that my servants are gone. He turns back to my uncle, face red and bloated with rage. Think of it, Makram. Jinn walk the streets as if they own them. As if they're people. Bye! There are only so many gross tirades I can stand in one day, and it seems like I'm rather at my limit. Excuse me. I've barely sat down before I'm on my feet again, once more fleeing the table. In truth, it's not just unpleasant conversation that makes me restless. I can't stop thinking about when the feast ends, when all of the guests leave, when my family leaves and I am alone with my husband. Ugh. My stomach clenches. There is Bahadur. Out of habit, his face is the one I seek among the crowd. Suddenly, it's all I want, to find him and demand we finish our conversation from earlier. I want him to comfort me the way he always has. I want him to save me. Bahadur is nowhere in sight, so I head back down the corridor where I last saw him. No one pays me any mind, and eventually I venture far enough from the main room that I am alone in the quiet, with a seemingly endless stretch of closed doors. Well, I suppose this is my home now. I have the right to open the doors, probably. Excuse me. One door leads to a guest bedroom, so does another, then another. One leads to some kind of storage room for antiques and other such expensive follies. Another opens onto a room that is unfinished, half decorated, and its eventual purpose a mystery to me. Bahadur isn't in there, but someone else is. The first thing I notice is Ran, crouching low, huddled over a bundle of robes on the floor. The second thing I notice is the bundle of robes is not a bundle of robes at all. It is the Shah lying crumpled on the ground. The third thing I notice, this is the thing that makes my throat clench in horror, is the blood. All of the blood. It's on the floor, soaking, spreading across the carpet. It's on Red's It's on Rand's arms and ends. It's on Red's hands and arms, making his white skin seem to shine all the brighter. And it's on the Shah. No, coming from the Shah, spilling out still in a ghastly river. Ran turns to me, but he doesn't look afraid or angry. He makes no move to silence me or hurt me. He just stares, not at me, but past me into nothing. Ran, what happened? He's dead. He sounds dazed, sways a little, and so do I. What? I fall against the wall. Oh, gods, the Shah is dead. Ran, we have to get out of here. I don't know if he can hear me. Ran! Heavy footsteps approach, swiftly from the hallway outside, but it isn't the palace guards who come bursting into the room. Bahadur! He looks at the body, then at Ran, then finally at me. My lady! His eyes widen in horror. How must this look to him? The Shah dead, ripped apart, Ran covered in blood, and me. Bahadur, I didn't do this! More footsteps are approaching now. The Shah's absence must have been noted, or perhaps we were too loud. Barely missing a beat, Bahadur grabs my arm and drags me across the room. What? He takes me to the alcove of a bay window and pushes me onto the ledge, following after, pulling the heavy velvet drapes across to hide us. That very second, a whole squad of guards pour into the room, spears and swords drawn. I watch through the tiny gap between the curtains as they take in the gory tableau before them, then point their weapons at Ran. Ran rises to his feet slowly, still showing no signs of either fighting or fleeing. The commotion has also drawn guests from the throne room to clamor and poke their noses into the room. The air is filled with cries of shock and furious whispers as the news spread from person to person throughout the palace. Enough! A bellow rises above the rest of the noise, and suddenly a hush falls. Hamza steps into the room, cutting through the civilians and his own guards like they're nothing. Well, this is awkward. He doesn't start at the sight of his emperor lying dead on the floor, but he does seem to change somehow. When he rounds on Wan, there's nothing of that stoic calmness left in him. There is hatred in his eyes. Seize the jinn! The guards swarm around. That sounded weird. Around Ram, and he doesn't resist. You did this. Why? Speak, creature! Fine, keep your secrets, filth. They won't be yours for long. Hamza turns to one of his men. The Heartseer, now! The man runs and soon returns with the Heartseer. The Heartseer cringes away from the bloody sight of the Shah, profound sadness etched into his gentle, wise face. My heart constricts as my uncle follows him into the room, looking distressed beyond words. He wasn't just the Shah's advisor, he was his friend. You! He stares at Ran in shock. Fear rises within me. If Ran did this terrible thing, what will become of my uncle, the man who brought him into the palace? Look to me, Jean. Ran slowly turns his face, not even flinching as the Heartseer lays his hands over his forehead and chest. Nobody speaks, nobody breathes, as we all wait for the Heartseer to finish his reading. Suddenly he gasps and stumbles back. Well, what did the beast's heart reveal? The Jinn is guilty. He followed the Shah to this room. He came to kill him. Even the slain bands cannot contain the strength of an albino Jinn. He He ripped the Shah apart with his bare hands. But on whose orders? The order of his mistress, the wife. What? No! I'm sorry, Makram. That is what I saw. On my order? Bahadur is looking at me, his gaze heavy. No, I didn't! I hiss the words as loud as I dare. Bahadur doesn't respond, but turns his watchful eyes back on the events unfolding beyond the curtain. Where is the girl? Hamza, please, my niece is... She wouldn't do something like this. The Hatsia has spoken. Gods, find Lady Jiraiya and bring her to me. Almost as an afterthought he adds, kill the jinn. Ran, who has been still as a corpse this entire time, suddenly comes alive. He wrenches free of the men holding him and searches for the door. Thanks to the confusion and his incredible speed, he manages to slip past Hamza, past the guards and into the crowd. Sea of guests parts to let him pass, everyone flinching away in fear. Sorry for the awkward chair sound. After him! As the commotion grows, Bahadur also springs into action, flings the window behind us open. Come, my lady. He holds out his hand. Ran? But what about Ran? He can take care of himself. Now come. We slip out, completely unnoticed thanks to Ran's distraction. Bahadur doesn't let go of my hand, even as we escape the palace grounds, even as we dart through the back streets, even as we come closer and closer to home. Just as well, I can't feel my legs, I can't feel anything. I'm not sure if I could even move under my own power. They think that I'm a murderer. They think I killed the Shah, my husband, my emperor. I'm a dead woman. Quickly, my lady. We make it back to the villa and Bahadur ushers me inside. The sun hasn't set and the house lies and the house lies in darkness. We don't have long. We may have a head start, but soon the whole city guard will be... They're already here. They're coming to arrest me. I'm going to be executed. Bahadur steps in front of me, shielding my body with his own. But it isn't the city guard lying in wait. It's Ran, rifling through my aunt and uncle's belongings. You. Ran barely acknowledges us, still searching the shelves and cupboards for what? How did you... Beat you back? Not hard. Humans, they're slow, weak, and stupid enough to fall for a simple feint. You tricked them. They all think they're chasing me to the other side of the city. Wasn't hard to double back. He says it like it's simple, like it's normal for him. And he says it while pocketing through my aunt's and uncle's possessions. What? What happened back there? You tell me, mistress. Ran rolls his eyes and gets back to rifling. Don't worry, I won't take much. Almost everything in this place is shiny and pointless. Ran, stop. Bahadur's voice is gentler than I expected it to be. We need to come up with a plan. Got a plan, thanks. You're going to run? Far, far away. Take Lady Jiraiya with you. Bahadur! My lady, please, think. You cannot stay here. As long as you are in Sia, you are in danger. You must flee. Bahadur looks to Ran, troubled. You must take her. Keep her safe. Bahadur. Nope. This time, we're going with you. Finally, we're at the paths splitting. Ugh. I'm thinking maybe... I'm gonna go a little further, so we can get a little bit of something new. Chapter 1. Bahadur. As I have so many times before, I turn to my trusted valet for help. He meets my gaze, firm and unwavering. I would not abandon you now, my lady. Thank you. I'll be off then. Bye! Ran heads for the door, but Bahadur is there to block him. You will go nowhere without your mistress' permission. Ran snarls. I remember the last night in my bedroom with the knife. I don't think I've ever was this Jean's mistress. Let him go. Bahadur, stand down. Let him go. But my lady... Look at me. Won't the entire city be looking for an albino jinn? Are you sure you want your precious mistress to be seen with me? Right. So I'll be off. This time Bahadur doesn't stop him from leaving. Once Rand's gone, disappearing into the inky blackness of the night, Bahadur sets about the villa, gathering things in haste. Change your clothes, my lady. I rush upstairs and do so. When I return, he hands me a cloak, a finely made item of clothing that no one in this family has ever had cause to wear. I slip it on as Bahadur finishes placing a couple of water skins and a blanket into a small bag. Are you ready? Taking one last look around the house in which I grew up, I feel... Yeah, fuck this! I feel a strange sense of relief. Beneath the fear and confusion, there's actual relief. I suppose I can admit, if only to myself, that this villa has never truly felt like home. I'm ready. It is quiet. The market has long since closed for the day, and there doesn't seem to be any patrols. Where are the guards? Aren't they looking for us? We were quick. I think we have a bit of a head start. Let's not waste it, my lady. Bahadur leads the way through the market, his long, hurried strides forcing me into a run just to keep up. To help calm my nose... my nose is very, very, nervous. To help calm my nerves, I focus on Bahadur's broad back. He has always been my uncle's most loyal and trusted servant, and he has always treated me kindly, but... to go this far, to make himself a criminal, for me. If I am caught, I will be put on trial. They might sentence me to death. But if Bahadur is caught, there will be no trial. His head will be on a pike above the city walls before daybreak. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't. Safe scumming, first of all. Bahadur, this is enough. I can make it from here. Bahadur slows and finally stops. My lady, this is my mess. I can't drag you any further into it. My lady. He seems to be thinking on this, working out the right response. I have already abetted your escape from the palace. Seer is no longer safe for either of us. Oh. We continue until we're nearly at the gates. Suddenly, Bahadur stops short and guides me into the shadows. A lone merchant still at his stall, packing the merchandise into a cart. Once he is done loading this and starts checking around his stall for anything he might have missed, Bahadur gives me a silent signal. We slip behind the cart and Bahadur boosts me off, climbing up after. Reaffixing the canvas covering, we lie in, hiding beneath it. Every single sentence that is in this game right now I cannot pronounce. The merchant returns to the cart and climbs up into the driver's seat. He urges his horses forward and we're on the move. The guards won't stop a merchant. We'll be out of the city in no time, my lady. I nod in response, though I don't know if Bahadur can see me in the darkness. Soon the cart comes to a halt. Evening? Heading out late, aren't you, Maurice? You know me, mate. Always getting caught up and taking inventory. You work too hard. But I'll rest when I'm dead. You shouldn't joke about things like that. The guards sigh, a long, suffering sigh, and I hear the winding crank of the gates being opened. See you next. The Shah is dead! What? There comes a frantic footfall of what might be another guard. He shouts as he runs. Close the gates! The Shah is dead! I feel Bahadur tense beside me. What? Is this a joke? No joke! The Shah is dead and his killers are somewhere in the city. Oh no way. I don't have time to wait for a lockdown. Let me through and close the gates behind me, yeah? Out of the question. No one is to leave under the orders of Captain Hamza. My heart hammers in my chest. Please let him through, please. Oh, think I'm the murderer, do you? I've been in this bloody market, working my ass off since the sun came up. Mate, come on, help me out here. Protocol is protocol, Maurice. I can't just disobey an order. They're not going to let him out. Oh, gods. Bahadur. I hiss and there's no response. Bahadur, we have to do something. Bahadur, are you... A hand claps over my mouth. Forgive me, my lady. His words are low and quiet in my ear, and after that we are both silent. What a load of crap. Are we friends or not? Hadn't you better get to patrolling? Oh, right. You stay here, don't let anyone pass. Understood. The frantic guard's footsteps fade into the distance. Silence hangs thick and cloying in the air. Alright, Maurice, get out of here. A scholar and a gent as always. Yeah, you owe me a hefty damn discount next time you're in town. You know it, chum. Good luck with the whole catching the murderers thing. And with that, the cart is on the move again. There's the sound of the gates closing behind us. We're out. We're free. Well, not yet, darling. You are kind of still in trouble. Bahadur and I exhale together. Are you alright, my lady? I'm just peachy. Just peachy, Bahadur, thank you. Bahadur chuckles warmly. I expected no less. We trundle along for a long time. It is hot and cramped under the canvas. The only point of light comes from the tiny flap that Bahadur has lifted in order to keep an eye on the outside. The horse's hooves fall and the wheels beneath us turn in a relentless rhythm, and I find myself being lulled into a sort of mindless trance. My lady, I'm woken up by Bahadur's hushed voice. It is time to disembark. He takes my arm and helps me to the ground. The merchant never so much as glances back. Oh. It is one thing to see that you've crossed into the desert. It's another thing to see the endless dry expanse before your eyes. I can't help but start to feel the slightest bit doomed. I apologize, my lady, but this is where the merchants and our paths diverge. Isn't he following a circuit of the desert cities? Yes, but our destination lies in a different direction. I don't fully understand, but if I can't trust Bahadur, I can't trust anyone, so we start walking. Suddenly, he stops in his tracks, turning to me, his eyes are wide and apologetic. Forgive me. He extends a hand. Allow me to carry you, my lady. This overly serious consideration is nothing new for Bahadur, but something about it feels strange out here. Can we truly still return to our old familiar roles? Can I let him pamper and spoil me all the way across the desert and further? It is a seemingly small offer, but it seems somehow bigger than that to me right now. We're definitely gonna turn down the offer. We're definitely gonna start treating this guy as an actual human being right now. There's no more mistress stuff here. You ain't a slave no more. Bye. I am also gonna save here. And I'm also gonna end the episode here. I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed the first part of Wilder Bahadur's story. Finally, we're getting into some stuff that we don't know. I'm looking forward to the next one, and I will see you next time. Bye!